Rumford, Rhode Island was known as the kitchen capital of the world due to this Rumford baking powder that was made here since 1858. The company operated here until the 1950s. My partner and I regularly jogged by the property. It had 52 tenants at will. There were a few working artists. It was just one of these decrepit spots. We thought there was a real opportunity to take this 8.5-acre site and transform it into something meaningful. The Rumford Center project is a mixed-use project, meaning it has a variety of uses. We have a public retail aspect. We have offices. And we have a residential component. We have 112 rental apartments.
There are people coming and going at all times of the day, and then there's something really comforting in that to me. You can sit upstairs and look out the window and you don't even have to watch TV. You know, it's all going on there in front of you.
Mixed use for me is more convenience for me. To be able to live in a place, then be able to go either downstairs to work for some people, or downstairs to get a great meal, or downstairs to get a perfect latte. All within just literally steps improves the quality of life.
We have residents at the Rumford Center that are here 5 times a week.
When the restaurant opened, we did our best to communicate to the tenants that this is a great thing. Literally the first night that the restaurant opened, we had 3 complaints the next morning. There's a great thing about this urban fantasy of mixed use, but actually pulling it off and separating those uses and making that function was a challenge.
In the state of Rhode Island, there's a plethora of old historic mills. In the late 90s, early 2000s, the state of Rhode Island passed legislation that allowed for a state historic tax credit. At that time, developers came and really took advantage of it.
We had 9 buildings that we were compelled to preserve to qualify for historic tax credit treatment. So we had the state's architect at our hip during the design process and during the construction process. Every single window on the campus is brand new and is an exact replica of what was here before.
While the tax credit program brought much needed economic development and preservation of the mills, the preservation of these mills has had an adverse effect. Where they look abandoned, they're often quite vibrant inside with small creative businesses or small industrial businesses. And once renovated, the cost becomes no longer affordable for the types of uses that were originally inside the buildings.
This is not a get-rich-quick scheme by any stretch, and I don't think any substantial historic rehab is. Rumford Center is a $40 million project. It took us 4 years from concept to our first completion. We encountered a host of challenges, a lot of them physical. We had environmental contamination everywhere. We had structural degradation in many of our buildings that needed to be restored. We delivered in the middle of an economic firestorm.
A few years back, with the economic decline, it became very challenged, and the state historic tax credit was discontinued. A number of developers mid-project also faced some difficulties themselves, and without that state historic tax credit, there was no longer a possibility of finishing the projects they had started.
Not all mill restorations are equal, but the concept of mill restoration in New England is a very valuable one because the Blackstone Valley used to be the Silicon Valley of the Industrial Revolution. So there are a lot of mills, and rather than just bulldoze them and put up a strip mall, developers are taking the character of these buildings and turning them into extremely livable places.